Hey, Julia Barzyk here from Wise Investigator. So I have a paper that I printed out for some light summer reading. I wanted to have a chance to read this and share a couple comments on it. So you may have heard that there was recently an article published. It's from the journal Scientometrics, and the title of it is, "Do Grant Proposal Texts Matter for Funding Decisions? A Field Experiment." And the authors are Simsek et al. And this comes from the Dutch Research Council in collaboration with the three authors. Okay. So what they wanted to do here was do an experiment where they gave reviewers either a CV along with a summary of the proposed research, or they gave the reviewers the CV as well as a full proposal, or what we would probably call a project description. And they wanted to see if there was any difference in the outcome in terms of ratings of these proposals that are being considered for funding. And they have a specific hypothesis that they tested. Now, I will note that the topics of these proposals were in social science and humanities. So now, the hypothesis here was that panelists' evaluations of grant applications agree more when both have access to the proposal text than when only one has access. And I'm not going to summarize the whole paper here. You can go ahead and check it out yourself. But the bottom line is that they did the field experiment and the results did not support the hypothesis. So the conclusion is that there's really not a significant difference in the outcomes in terms of the ratings or the evaluations of the proposed research when the evaluator has a full proposal with all the details about what the PIs want to do, or whether they have only a summary. So this generated a little bit of excitement, let's say, because it can be frustrating when we hear something like this come out. And, you know, it's relevant to us here in the U.S. as well, because we have run a very, very similar process to what they were working with here in this experiment. Now, as someone who worked at a funding organization for 10 years and managed these kinds of process, this exact type of process, you know, I am not surprised by these results. So whether you find that discouraging or encouraging, I don't know. Probably most PIs are going to feel a little discouraged because of the amount of time that you're putting into the project description that's absolutely required. So let me give you my 3 takeaways. Now, these are not the takeaways from the authors. Please do check out their paper. But my takeaways for you would be that, 1, something like a summary, a project summary, you know, an abstract that you may be required to submit, any kind of summary type document, it should not be considered thought of as an afterthought. This is not something to go scrambling to put together in the last 12 hours of your proposal preparation process. This should actually be, in my opinion, and how I guide clients, this is the first thing that you should be putting together when you're proposing some research. Now, the first thing that you put together is not your final project summary. You're going to go back and revise it, you know, probably quite a few times. But this is a very, very important document, as demonstrated by the field experiment that these authors presented here. Same thing with the CV or biosketch, whatever it may be. These are not afterthought documents, you know, synergistic activities, etc. These are things that should have a lot of care go into them because they really do matter, and judgments can be made based on these documents. Now, of course, going back to that study, you know, it didn't really get into, you know, the whys here. Like, of course, if someone is very good at writing a full proposal, they may also be very good at writing a project summary. So we're not really getting into the nuances of, you know, the quality of a project summary versus that of the full proposal or the project description for any one given proposal or any kind of details like that. So, but even so, even without knowing that, we can still learn a lot, enough to know that these sort of extra documents they're not extra, they're very critical, and we need to have attention and time going into those. Okay, so my second takeaway, actually, and again, these are my takeaways, is that despite the project summary, not seeming to matter so much from this study, we do know, right, that it actually matters quite a lot. And the authors point out a number of different important reasons why project summaries do need to exist, including giving the proposer a chance to just even think out what they're going to be doing and plan the research that has value there. So we do know, though, from the research proposal evaluation process that we go through here at most funding agencies, that you will run into problems if you don't have a solid project description. So I'm not going to say that this is something that you can just blow through either, but usually PIs do give more attention to this part. So although my point one is that the summary, the CV, those extra things are very important, point two is that the project description is also something that we need to keep the standards up on. So you can't just take the time and attention from there and put it into the shorter documents. We need to do both, okay? You need to do both. So that's a takeaway. And the final takeaway is that, as I had predicted when I made a video in the beginning of 2024, one of the things that I said was that my predictions, just from my own perspective, is that we are going to have to move as a community to some kind of more abbreviated types of evaluation processes. There's more recognition that there is a shortage of hours that the community has collectively to dedicate to lengthy evaluation processes. There could be, and I believe that there would be, ways of doing evaluation processes that would require less time from the evaluators, maybe even less time from the proposers. So this isn't something that is going to change overnight, but it is something to keep in mind that just with the workload, the information overload, etc., that everyone's dealing with, all parties who are involved with this process, which would be, of course, the proposers, it would be evaluators, and it would be a government or agency or whatever organization is the sponsor, those people who are doing the administrative work to make this process happen. So there's more acknowledgement and attention being brought to the fact that a lot of time is going into this, time that people don't really have, and certainly we could look at more efficient ways of making these decisions that need to be made. So the takeaway from that, third takeaway, is that it is worth it to invest in any kind of training, any kind of support. If your institution is offering a three-minute thesis is one program that teaches people how to explain something in just 3 minutes. Any kind of research communication trainings that you can do, any opportunity to engage with your news office, to think about multimedia ways of communicating your research, its impact, that these investments, if you're up-leveling your skill in these areas now, they really will pay returns in the future, because there's just no way that we are not going to, and that maybe it's not going to be in 12 months, right? But within the next 5 years, I just don't see how we could not move to some more efficient and faster processes for making these types of decisions. So if you read this paper, let me know what you think. I'm curious to hear your take on it.